Hey guys, my name is Elena. I live in Izhevsk, Russia. Welcome to my channel. I noticed that recently I've gained some new subscribers here and I thought it could be nice to get to know each other better. You asked me some questions here on YouTube and on Instagram and I've printed them all out. So today I'm gonna answer them, and I decided to divide this video into two parts. The first one will be more personal and I will answer the questions about my family, my career, my studies, things that I like and so on. And in the second part I will try to answer more global questions about the Russian culture, history, politics, and things like that. So feel free to get something to drink, get your matryoshkas, and we'll start. Let's go. So the first question is, where were you born? I was born in Izhevsk. It's the capital of the Udmurt Republic. You know, republic is like a state in the USA or a province in Canada, and this republic is quite far from Moscow. You know, if you look at the map, it will look kind of like it's not far, but in reality you need to take a one-day train to get from Moscow to here. Or if you go from St Petersburg, it will take you 1.5 days. The Udmurt Republic is quite big. It's almost the size of Denmark. And as for Izhevsk, there are more than 600,000 people here. It is considered to be a small city in Russia, but in reality, yeah, it's quite big. People call Izhevsk the armory capital of Russia because here Kalashnikov created his AK-47 and we have a big gun factory or Kalashnikov factory where they produce different kinds of weapons. And also here in Izhevsk they produce cars. They used to make motorcycles here, and there is a big radio factory, so it's a city of factories, but the nature is also quite beautiful here. So yeah, I was born here and I lived here until the end of my high school. Let's move on to the next question. It's, have you ever visited the US? If so, where? What impression did you live with? That's a good question because actually I have visited the US. You know, when I was at school, English was my favorite subject and I studied it so hard. And at the age of 15, I decided to take part in a competition that allowed me to spend 1 year in the USA for free. I lived with an American host family and I went to an American high school, and it was a turning point of my life. I've changed so much. It was kind of difficult to get into this competition, and at first I tried when I was 14. At that point I didn't get into the program, but I tried the next year and I succeeded, and in my city they chose only 4 students who went to the US. The name of this program is FLEX, which stands for Future Leaders Exchange. So the idea was to send people from Eastern European countries to the US so that the relationship between these countries and the States would become better. As part of this program, we had to do some tasks. We had like a mission. We had to give presentations about our country, and I did some presentations in my school and in the Rotary Club. Also, we had to do like 100 hours of volunteering. It was also a lot of fun. And in general, the idea of the program was to learn about the US and come back to Russia and actually teach people that Americans are not that scary and they're friends, they're people just like us, and do the same for Americans, you know, tell them that Russians are not communists. I think this was a successful experience. I really loved it. I lived in a very tiny town in Maryland. I landed in the US and I saw my host family for the first time. The people who I was supposed to live with for 1 year. I think I was super lucky because my family was amazing. We traveled around Maryland, we went to Washington DC, Pennsylvania, New York, we went to Maine, and also we traveled to the south of the US, to Arizona and Utah, and I saw all these beautiful national parks, and you know, it felt like I was in a dream and it was not real. As for living there, you know, when I was leaving the US, I felt like I didn't want to live there because I saw how people worked so much and they don't have like good health system, like they don't have insurance, and I thought that maybe that was not for me and I would want to live in a country where healthcare system is better. But at the same time, you know, when I was in the US, I was a kid, I was 15, and now I have changed a lot. So maybe if I go to the US now, I will have a different impression of the country, I don't know. Okay, next question. Even if you were born and grew in Izhevsk, why did you live for 8 years in St. Petersburg? Okay, so here's my story. When I was 16, I came back from the US to Izhevsk and I had 1 more year of high school. So I did that and then I decided to enter a university in a bigger city because, you know, after being in the US, it felt like Izhevsk was too small for me. And I wanted like more freedom, I wanted more opportunities, so I applied to universities in Moscow and St. Petersburg, and I got a place in St. Petersburg State University and I moved there. And there I studied Russian language and literature. So I spent 4 years doing my bachelor's in St. Petersburg, and it was the best time in my life. I think St. Petersburg is a perfect city for young people because, you know, there are white nights and you can spend all nights on the street. There are so many cultural events, concerts, there are many museums, and I could walk down the streets where the characters of Dostoevsky or Gogol were walking. After the bachelor's degree, I got into Russian literature program in St. Petersburg State University, but after a couple of months, I decided that, you know, it didn't make sense to do that again, and I was just wasting my time thinking about something very abstract and theoretical. I wanted to be more down to earth and get some practical skills, and that's why I got this International English Teaching Certificate, CELTA. I got this qualification and then I just found a job in teaching, and that's what I'm doing now. The next question is, what do you do for a living? As I said, I really love languages, especially the English language, and I thought that I wanted to share this knowledge with other people, and I wanted to inspire them to learn this language because it can broaden one's horizons and it can give so many opportunities. So I decided to do that, and with my international teaching qualification, I was able to find a really good job in St. Petersburg. It's an international company and mainly they specialize in teaching English. There are many things that I do in this company, but in general, you can call me an English teacher. I teach different groups of students who come from different companies. So I work with companies like Dell, Gazprom, Rosatom, it's the people who make nuclear power plants, and different IT companies in Russia. Also, I have individual students. They live all over Russia, and I have a student in Finland and in Germany. Obviously, right now I'm doing all of this remotely. I'm still working for a company in St. Petersburg, but I'm not attached to the office. And one more thing that I do is I help people, help students to get into universities abroad. And I help them to write motivation letters because I have some experience with that. Okay, next question. I'd like to hear more about life in Izhevsk. What did you study and what is your current profession? What are your goals? Well, I think I've answered most of these questions, but as for the goals, I don't know. You know, I'm not a very strategic person who has a lot of goals, because I know some people write them down like every day, every week, every month, and they plan their whole year, but I'm not that kind of person. Mainly I just go with the flow. Sometimes I set goals for myself and I get really ambitious and I do anything I can to reach those goals, but at the moment I'm just trying to relax and see where life takes me. In general, as you see, I'm trying to develop my YouTube channel because, you know, I had been thinking about starting a YouTube channel for a long time. But before, for some reason, I didn't feel comfortable doing that. But now I finally overcome my fear and I decided to just forget about all these strange thoughts in my head and just do it. And I would like to develop it a little more because I think it gives so many opportunities, and I can develop my skills, I can meet new people, build new connections, build my audience. You know, for me it's so inspiring to have all of you who watch my videos and comment under them, and you're so great. You come from different countries, and it's always been my dream to be connected to people from different countries. In fact, when I was at university, I worked in this international students organization. I worked with exchange students and I organized different events for them. I helped them out to adjust to the Russian culture, and for me it just was so inspiring and it gave me so much energy. I just decided that a YouTube channel would be a gateway like that, and I'm very happy that I'm doing that. I'm looking forward to see where this path is gonna take me. And of course, I want to continue teaching English, but maybe I would like to transform it in a way, because, you know, I feel like teaching English one-on-one for me, it's maybe not a sustainable way of making money. I love teaching, but if I get too many students, I get burnt out. So I need to figure out a system where I could do that, you know, teach for a limited number of hours a day, maybe like 4 or 5 hours, and at the same time get enough money for living. I don't know, maybe I will start a business in the future. I'm just giving myself some time to see how my life unfolds. I'm sure that the right ideas will come to me at the right time. Okay, next question. Hi Elena, do you ever visit a dacha in the countryside? Yes, I do. Well, when I'm in Izhevsk, I do, because my grandparents have a country house, and when I was a kid, I used to go there every summer. I would spend there a week or two regularly, and I had my friends there. It was really nice time, and right now I don't go there very often, which is kind of sad because I think I'm kind of attached to civilization, to the internet communication, because I teach online and I can't allocate like a certain number of days for this trip to my grandparents' country house. But I really want to do that. In their country house there is no Wi-Fi and the phone reception is really bad, so you feel like, yeah, you are far away from civilization. I think I'm gonna still go there this summer, but also my parents have a country house and we go there every weekend in the summer. They have a little garden and they have a Russian sauna, banya, so we go there. It's really nice, and we make barbecue and just, you know, chill. If you want me to make video about Russian dacha, let me know. I will be happy to do that for you. Your favorite writers and books, Russian and foreign. As I said, I studied literature at university, so reading is something that I did very often in the past. Now a little less because I'm busy with work. But of course at university we read so many great books. There are many books that I can talk about. You know, if I have to choose my favorite books, it will probably be some books that I reread sometimes, and they're the books for my soul. Okay, let's start with Russian books. The first one is this one by Alexander Pushkin, Yevgeny Onegin. It's a novel in verse, and it's a book that every Russian person reads in teenage years, so I have a very distinct memory of that. When I was learning the monologue of Tatiana, the main character in this book, her love letter to Yevgeny Onegin, and I had to recite this poem in front of the whole class. Why do I love this book? Is because first of all, you know, Alexander Pushkin is a genius of Russian literature. I guess you can compare him to Dante for Italian people, or Cervantes for Spanish people, or Shakespeare for English people. Pushkin is the person who revolutionized Russian literature, and moreover he is the creator of the modern Russian language. And he was so talented, he absorbed everything that the writers wrote in the past, and for him it was so easy. And in his books he showed that he could do so much more than that, and he took the previous literature to the next level. I remember that we studied this at university, and every line deserves special attention in this book. Tatiana, who is the main character of this book, is associated with the Russian soul. She is very, very Russian. So if you want to know the Russian soul a little better, yeah, read this. I recommend. The next book from the Russian literature that I can read over and over again is Anna Karenina by Leo Tolstoy. Yeah, it's also quite big. It's worth reading. I've read it, I think, 3 times. First time at school, then at university, and I started rereading it recently. And you know, I'm surprised how different this book seems at different stages of my life. Right now, when I'm older and the pace of my life is so fast, and you know, I need to balance between work and my hobbies, family, and all that stuff. It's really refreshing to read this book because it's a slow read. The descriptions here are so thoughtful and nice. You know, you read the description of the characters and you start thinking about psychology. In this modern world, you just scan a person and then you make a decision about their character and their personality. But if you read Tolstoy, you realize that every person is like a whole new world or a universe. Every character is so deep and controversial, and there are so many little details, and you can't make a judgment about this character because they have so many traits. Like Anna Karenina, the main character, you know, I've always sympathized with her, but I know that some people think that she's like a bitch. Oi. Maybe it's not the right word, but yeah, she kind of abandoned her husband and she's very selfish. It's very dramatic too. I guess Russian literature without drama is nothing. The next author that I really love is Bunin. I don't have any books by him right now. His language also inspires me a lot, and I can feel like, you know, when I'm reading his book, I feel like I get closer to some secret of life. I'm talking not only about his stories and novels, but also about his poetry. The last author that is special for me is Nabokov, also because of his language and because he has his own kind of universe and perception of life. It's great to read his books, short stories, novels, everything. The plots usually are very dramatic too and kind of controversial, and sometimes you don't understand what's happening, so you can think about it, you can talk about it with other people. Another thing that's great about him is that he also wrote his books in English, and his English is perfect, so you can get acquainted with him by reading his books in English and also in Russian. As for foreign literature, my all-time favorite is this book, The Little Prince. This book is special to me because I also read it so many times. I fell in love with it when I was a teenager. It makes me feel like a kid again, and again it makes me, you know, think about the purpose of life and the true values that a person has to have in life. It's very simple to read, you can read it in an hour or so, but it makes you think about so many things, about life and death, about love, about friendship and responsibilities that a person has in life, and the meaning of childhood in person's life. I guess the main takeaway from this book for me is that we shouldn't forget about our inner child. We need to try to explore the life from the perspective of that inner child. We need to be curious, we need to, you know, be open-minded to new things, we need to explore new things. So yeah, this is my love. I love The Little Prince. The next author is of course Shakespeare. Yeah, Shakespeare is great. I read only Romeo and Juliet in English, and other books by him I read in Russian. And in Russian we have some really good translations of Shakespeare. So yeah, for me it's again one of those books that I read many times, for example Romeo and Juliet, and every time when I read it I feel like I'm reading a new book. As you become older, new levels of the meaning unfold and you get like deeper and deeper into this book, and Shakespeare is great, of course. Lastly, I want to talk about something else that I love reading is mythology. I love Greek mythology and also Scandinavian mythology, British mythology, and in general European mythology. Here is this word again. So this is the book of ancient Greek mythology and I just love these stories so much. For me it's great to, read them, not only because they allow you to go back in time and try to figure out how people used to live in ancient time and what they believed in, but also, I don't know, this is so powerful to read about gods and think about these superpowers that people believed in. I love to read Greek mythology because it allows you to understand the world better and art, especially if you go to the Hermitage. There are so many paintings that are connected to some of the scenes from Greek mythology, so I think if you want to be a cultural person, which I'm trying to be, but of course I'm not there yet, but you definitely need to be acquainted with this stuff. And also for me it's kind of flattering that my name is Elena, and Elena, or another variation of this name, is Helen. I love the story of Helen of Troy. I was so glad that last year I was able to go to Troy and I saw the Trojan horse. I was able to see the ruins of that city. For me it's like, oh my god, I couldn't believe that I could see that. Yeah, I think this video is getting very long, so I'll try to move a little faster. What's your favorite Russian food? What's the most disgusting Russian food? In general, I love food and I love exploring different dishes from various countries. As for Russian food, I'm not a huge fan of it because, I live in Russia and it's something that we eat here every day. But maybe if I had to choose one, it would be pelmeni or manti. Yeah, these are two similar dishes and I think the concept is quite similar. So it's basically like dumplings. Manti are bigger. In my family, my parents make the best pelmeni. They make them from scratch. And my aunt makes the best manti. Of course, I try not to eat them very often because they're quite heavy. And you know what happens if you eat this stuff regularly, so I don't do that. As for disgusting foods, probably it will be sala, which is a pig's fat. And I don't know how people eat it and they love it, but I just don't understand this. I'd like to hear more about life in Izhevsk, and do you plan to work one day in a bigger city like Moscow or St. Petersburg? Life in Izhevsk is controversial. If you're looking for something very down to earth, if you want to be close to your family, have time for your hobbies, then probably Izhevsk is a good place for you because it's quite small and you don't spend a lot of time for commute. If you're not interested in culture and traveling, then yes, of course, you can go to Izhevsk. But I wouldn't bear to live here for a long time because I love traveling. And when I lived in St. Petersburg, for example, I was able to go to Finland for a weekend or to small towns around St. Petersburg. I was able to go to museums and different exhibitions, concerts. So in Izhevsk we don't have any of that. I mean, there are some cultural events, but definitely not as many. Of course, I'm planning to move to a bigger city again. We'll see what my life will be like in the future. Okay, the next question is your top 3 favorite gardens in Russia. Okay, that's a great question because when I lived in St. Petersburg, every weekend with my friend, we tried to get away from the city and go to one of the beautiful parks that surround St. Petersburg, and thanks to Russian Tsars we have this park. Probably my favorite one is called Alexandria. It's close to the famous Peterhof, but I don't really like that one because it's so overcrowded and there are always many tourists there. But next to it there is a huge park with a beautiful garden as well, and not many tourists know about that, but it's so pretty, and there are like many different buildings, like a Gothic church and a farm. You can go there and you can walk there all day, and you can have a picnic with a breathtaking view on the Finnish Gulf. So yeah, I love that place. The next one that I like is Gachina, and you can actually check out the video that I made about it. You can see this park in the winter, but you know, in summer and spring, autumn, it's just so amazing. It's huge. There is a big forest, and there is a classical park with pretty sculptures and flowers. Again, you can walk there all day because it's just enormous. And the last one is probably Pavlovsk, also a palace with an even probably bigger park than Gachina. There are pretty birch trees and pine trees, and there are many squirrels and different birds there. There are big fields that you can see all over Russia. Yeah, I just love parks and gardens. So thanks for that question. I hope that you will be able to check them out someday. Your top 3 artworks, also a difficult question, because when I lived in St. Petersburg I went to museums regularly, and there are great museums there, like the Russian Museum, the Hermitage, which is one of the biggest art museums in the world. Obviously there are so many amazing artworks there, but if I had to choose 3, which is kind of impossible, I would probably choose these ones. The first painting is called The Ninth Wave by Izhevsk. You can see it in the Russian Museum. In that picture you can see people who are facing death because there has been a shipwreck. That picture makes you think about the power and glory of nature. The way the painter painted it is also amazing. I have no idea how he could paint the sea so realistically. It's just magical. The next picture that I like is called The Demon Seated. It is created by Vrubel. It has an interesting effect because it looks like a mosaic or a stained glass, and this demon is the representation of a human soul with its sufferings and thoughts. I don't know, this picture is so beautiful. It just makes me think about the human nature. And the last picture that I like is called Moonlight Night on the Dnieper by Kuinji. Also, I'm amazed by the technique of the painter because it seems like there is a lamp in this picture and it lights the beautiful landscape. I heard that when this picture was exhibited for the first time, people couldn't believe that this is real, and they even looked behind the picture to make sure that there was no lamp. Top 3 favorite flowers or trees in Russia. Well, I want to say that the rose is my favorite flower, but I think it's a little boring, so I'd say peony, bellflower, and scorpion grasses. How long does it take for you to edit the video? That's really crazy, but sometimes it can take me several days. The process of shooting a video can be also complicated, and there are some fails that I go through. For example, once I decided to film the introduction for my Dostoevsky video in the center of Izhevsk, next to Izhevsk pond, and I asked my dad to go with me and help me shoot that video, and it was 6 in the morning because I wanted to do that early in the morning so that there will be a beautiful background without any people. And we spent so much time doing that, but in the end I looked at the video at home and I realized that the angle was really bad, and the sound was horrible because it was so windy. I had to retake the whole shot and I had to film one more time at home, And this happens quite often because, you know, I'm not a professional videographer and very often I have to retake videos, so it's a very time-consuming process. But good thing is that I like it, and when I do it, time flies. I really hope that in the future it will take less time and I will become more professional. I came to the channel through a suggestion on Yeah Russia. My question is, how did you two met and what do you think of her videos? How do these two regions different in your country? How I met Yeah Russia? Well, it was actually really random. As I said before, when I was 15, I spent a year in the US through that program that was called Flex. By the way, now this program is actually closed for Russia because the relationship between Russia and the US is not so good, but that's another story. But still we have this community of the alumni who went to the US through different programs. They organize different events for us. Now, because of the pandemic, these events are online. I took part in this workshop that was called Women in Leadership, and there were around, I think, 100 different women and young girls who went to the US at some point and now they, you know, run their own business or they study. We had some lectures about leadership. It was via Zoom, and at one of the sessions I was just sitting and I saw Natasha. Before I had watched her videos because she also films videos about Russia, and I just couldn't believe my eyes, and I had to go on YouTube and make sure that it was really her. I was so shocked to see her, and that day after the workshop I sent her an email. You know, I had all the contacts of the participants of that workshop. I told her that I really loved her content. We had a small correspondence, she gave me some advice. Yeah, I think that her videos are really amazing, and you know, her success inspired me to continue with YouTube. I think that she is a great person and I wish her all the luck. As for the regions, they are very different, of course, because she lives in the far east of Russia and that region is close to the ocean and close to Asia, so they have a lot of Asian influence. They drive Japanese cars and they go fishing in the sea. And here where I live right now, we are in the middle of the continent. We have only small rivers and ponds. As I said, my city is very industrial. There are a lot of factories and there are a lot of fields, and the landscape is in general very different. We don't have as much water, we don't have mountains, so there are just fields around and forests. So I think it's quite different. What is your view and most Russians' view on life in Soviet time? Well, I can't speak for all the Russian people, but as for me, I'm definitely not nostalgic about those times. And in fact, I was not born in Soviet Union, so, you know, I know in theory how it is like to live there, but I've never experienced that. And I know that closer to the end of Soviet Union, it was really tough to live there, so I wouldn't like to go back and experience that, especially because at that time you were not allowed to travel the world, and for me traveling is an essential part of my life. As for other people, I don't know, I can't tell you about them, but let's just ask some of them.
В Советском Союзе лучше было?
Непонятно. Как-то приспосабливались, как-то жили. Чё? Хоть как нас не послушают, хоть им, как им хочется, так и они делают. Сейчас все хозяева. Хозяев очень много. И пожаловаться некому. Вот здесь скамейки-то стоят, собираются пьяницы. Хотела милицию участковому. Участкового даже нету. Участкового нету. Раньше смотришь, идет милиционер, смотришь, идет. Сейчас никого нет.
Ну а раньше не было таких пьяниц на улице?
Никогда у нас не было.
А когда Советский Союз развалился, как ты к этому относилась?
Да что-то даже и непонятно. как-то разваливался тихонько. Пенсию добавляли 2 раза в месяц. А сейчас шиша. Если 55 лет я работала, сейчас надо 60. Вот ведь что.
Ну, а ты говорила, что когда Сталин умер, ты плакала?
Тогда все плакали.
М.
Все плакали, не только я.
А почему плакали?
Жалели.
Он же был тиран.
Не знаю, мы откуда знаем, были вот такие, так тиран он не тиран. А этот не тиран, он этот. Но тогда как-то все-таки был этот самый порядок-то. В заводе работали. Никогда не это, чтобы начальник по одной квитанции получал деньги. А сейчас кто, сколько они получают? Кто знает? Никто не знает.
How do people from provincial, rural cities, regions like yours see Moscow's influence in local matters like federal funding, infrastructure, investments, and so on? Do people think that the leaders who rule the regions are more loyal to Moscow than they are to the locals? Well, there are some extreme beliefs in Russia that Russia is the colony of Moscow. Well, I wouldn't say that it's 100% true, but maybe there is some truth to it because, you know, in Moscow, obviously there is so much more budget and things there get changed faster. For example, you know, if they want to build a bridge, they can do it like that in a couple of days. Or in St Petersburg is like that too. Before the Football World Championship, they built this huge stadium and you know, it took so much money, and of course I think most of the money came from the budget of the regions. In small cities like Izhevsk, of course, everything is very simple. The buildings are not renovated so fast, the roads are bad. Of course, they're trying to make some changes, but they're very slow and not as significant as the changes in the big cities like Moscow and St. Petersburg. As for the politics, the decisions that the local heads of the government make, I wouldn't say that they're very independent. A good example of that is what happened several months ago in my republic, when the head of our republic said that he no longer wanted to extend the mask regime, and he said that people here in Izhevsk didn't have to wear masks anymore, and everyone, you know, was so happy and grateful that he made this decision. But the next day Moscow said that no, you can't do that because, you know, we tell you to listen to what we say. You can't just lift these restrictions. And also if you need some budget to build something big. Recently in Izhevsk they've renovated a public library, and for that they needed to ask Moscow to provide some budget. So that's basically how it works in Russia. Yeah, Moscow is the most influential place here. You can see it's already night here, it's really late and I'm kind of tired, and I want to say two things. The first one is that I really messed up at work. I was filming the video and I got so into it that I've totally forgotten that my lesson was supposed to start at 6 and I thought that it would be at 6:30, and my student was waiting for me for 30 minutes and then she gave up. And I feel kind of embarrassed about this, but I'm glad she was understanding. And it's actually the first time this ever happens to me. Usually I'm not like that and I follow the schedule, but I guess, you know, I like spending time with you so much that I forget about time. But everything is okay now and we've decided to reschedule the lesson, so that's fine. Yeah, and the second thing that I want to say is that it was actually very ambitious of me to think that I would be able to answer all of the questions here in one video, because I suppose this video is already too long and no one's really gonna watch a 2-hour-long video by some Russian girl. So I hope that you enjoyed watching this video and you got the answers and you've learned something new. But if I haven't replied to your questions, I will try to reply to them in my next video. So here is a reason to record one more Q&A.
And since I'll be doing that sometime down the road, feel free to ask me some more questions in the comments below this video, and I will be very happy to answer them as much as I can in the future. And maybe I will answer some of them in the comments as well. Thank you so much for supporting my channel by liking my videos and subscribing. I really appreciate that, and I love reading your comments. And of course, special thanks to my patrons who support me on this journey, and this inspires me a lot, you know, that you help me in a way. Yeah, feel free to ask me any questions in the comments here, and also suggest any videos that you would like me to record in the future. I will try to do that. I hope that you'll have a great day. Bye!
No.